Welcome to the Isle Chat podcast with me, Beth,
Josh,
and Ryan.
This podcast is all about exploring the big questions, the small moments, and everything in between.
Whether you're stuck at the shops, in traffic, or just looking for some inspiration, our chat is here to keep you engaged.
It's time to talk, connect, and find meaning in those everyday moments.
Welcome to the Isle Chat.
Where's our little prompt sheet?
We left it in the house.
Sick.
Well, how every wedding starts, it all starts with prep. And I think
Yeah, but
we
that's
should...
not how we're starting, is
And we
it?
have no prep today.
Sounds like we're just turning up to a wedding and winging it.
Sounds familiar. I'm only messing. Cut that bad.
No, but firstly, it's starting off and being natural and relaxed. Every time we do a Zoom call, that's how we started off. I always say, we are a natural and relaxed team. And we're not going to be any different with this podcast. And I think with the podcast being our first episode, it's like your first wedding, essentially. You've never done this before. And when you started off doing the weddings, you had no clue. You're going in blind.
Well, I've definitely made myself room. I've got my shoes off, feet up. Get the kettle on.
I've never been more dressed in my life. It's just usually tracky effort.
Well, you look smarter today than you do at a wedding day.
Thanks, Dad. Actually do as well, don't I?
Yeah.
Truthfully, like, got a little jacket on and all that.
Yeah, Ryan turning up a t-shirt in like winter season. Still, to be fair, we all do, really, don't we? So, how was your weekend?
Man,
Yeah.
great.
You had a busy weekend.
Packed. Friday onwards. Friday. Do you want me to
how
tell
is
you?
Yeah, of
All right.
course.
Well, you know.
We know, but tell us again.
Okay.
Let's all pretend.
They
we've never-
don't know. They don't know.
Let's all pretend.
I'm
Maxie
going
like-
to say
doesn't
they,
know.
all three people.
Go on.
Yeah, so Friday actually went to a music event in Manchester, Warehouse Project. Obviously, I've got a split personality
I was
between
about to
weddings
say, you're making
and...
yourself sound like you're
I know,
entertaining.
yeah.
And you have like a busy social life. Carry on.
Yeah, no. So normally, obviously, I do a lot of music photography and wedding photography, but on this particular occasion, it was all about being a guest. So I went to watch Fisher, who's a very well-known DJ in Manchester, Warehouse Project, who didn't come on until 2 a.m, which was nice of him, thanks, man. And then I didn't get home until about 4-ish.
When he says 4, he really means 2 because he had the wedding the next day, so he had to be professional. You know what I mean? So,
I actually mean 4. So I actually went a 4 and then gets up for our wedding together, which obviously we did. Can we say the name?
I think with
I think you know.
Yeah,
Laura's
we
wedding.
Yeah.
know. We know. I think when it comes to telling stories about like weddings we've just done on the weekend, I think it's fine for us to say.
Yeah,
the name.
they still know, won't they? But yeah,
Yeah.
it turns up obviously to Laura's wedding. Meet yous.
Mark.
I was fresh. And yeah, full day wedding from there. And then the next day after, done a full day wedding fair at the exact same place.
Name the place.
Isla Gladstone, one of my favourites, Liverpool, looking for a sponsor. Yeah, no, Isla Gladstone Saturday, Isla Gladstone Sunday.
Nice
What did
shout
you
out
do?
there.
I know.
Yeah, I think we just both did weddings, like similar to yourself, really.
Where did you go on
Well,
Saturday?
Don't want to name drop or nothing like that, but yeah, we did.
Working with that rolling stuff.
Yeah, we did a wedding with Ryan, and yeah,
Must have been nice.
good day.
It was a really good day.
The weather was literally like hit and miss. You know, we didn't know whether we were going to get sun or rain, and it stayed.
And luckily we
Perfect.
got both.
We got both, yeah. It's good luck to rain on your wedding day. We had a rainbow, which was nice. On Friday, we had the pleasure of capturing a nice day for a lovely couple, Natalie and Dean. And the funny story about Natalie and Dean is a...
Ross Geller.
Ross Geller, yeah. You're just killing me punchlines.
I'm not killing him, I'm just saying he was Ross Geller, but that's how
letting
you...
them know beforehand.
He was a lot cooler than Ross Geller.
Hey, Ross Geller's cool.
No, but he was another level.
No, he was an interesting fella. Let's put it that way. Each wedding's different. You turn up, you meet these people from all different type of backgrounds, different cultures, etc. And for us, we've all been brought up in certain parts of Liverpool. We don't get to meet these people every single
Yeah,
day.
you're from Highton, aren't you?
Yeah. He's already got it in. How many minutes in are we, Matty? And he's already said 4 minutes in, and he's already mentioned the Highton thing. By the way, there's nothing wrong with Highton. I do live in Highton at the moment, but I'm not from Highton.
Tough cut.
I'm not even going to comment. I'm not even going to
Everywhere in
comment.
Liverpool's boss,
Yeah.
except Highton.
All right, sounds, yeah. Where are you
I'm
from?
only messing.
Where are you from?
Can't say it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so on Friday we were at Coleshaw and it was a stunning day. Literally, it was raining in the morning, so we thought, oh my God, as every photographer and videographer experiences that morning dread of like, it's lashing down, what are we going to do with the couple? Where are you going to take them? Well, obviously, Coleshaw is a stunning place. It's got so many grounds and stuff like that, which are nice. So we were like, come on, like... And then the sun come out and it
Literally, straight after the ceremony, outside for confetti, and then it was sunny all day.
literally,
Really.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Couldn't have gone any better.
And all I kept hearing all day, because he was a paleontologist and I want to do it, I was saying this on the weekend, I was like, yeah, when we come to record the podcast on Monday, I've got to do it, because everyone thinks it's when you think of a paleontologist or dinosaurs, is obviously...
And they actually walked into that song.
Did they actually walk into that song?
They actually did. In the wedding breakfast, they walked into that song.
Shut up.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you're both like,
I'm in like total disbelief, but I mean, that's what I love Jurassic
To
Park.
be fair, I wasn't like shocked. He had like Jurassic Park stuff everywhere. It was like, if you were into dinosaurs,
Did you
it
use
was the wedding to be.
that car, that Jurassic Park?
Do you know what?
that a certain video and photography company.
Yeah, you've got to give them a shout out. Yeah, Keogh's have a Jurassic Park car, I think.
Do they?
Yeah.
Haven't you seen it?
No,
It's like
I've
full
seen
on.
it.
Do you know what?
It's full on Alan Grant's Jeep.
It's Alan
No
Grant's
way.
Jeep, yeah. And I think they got it from like a Comic-Con. I don't know, I'm just making this up now, by the way. They can get in touch and say, we got it from this place. But they have got a Jurassic Park Ranger car. And it's the point now where I'm kicking myself. I should have said to them beforehand, even though they were getting married all under one roof and stuff, at Coleshaw.
Are you getting that?
I should have said, get that. Or we can get some boss photos.
I
in
did
it.
not know that they had that.
Yeah.
And I've seen that they've got the yellow New York taxi, haven't they?
With this podcast, we're obviously doing it to let people know who are planning a wedding, brides and grooms out there, who we are as people, really. I know we don't really want to sit here and do this introduction because we're not that way inclined. We're not like TV presenters. But we always say when we turn up to like a wedding day, it's the most unnatural thing to have a camera in the room. You automatically feel like you start performing, start being someone that you're not.
What, like we are
Like
now?
what I'm doing now.
I can never relate it until this point to be like, oh, it's fine, just relax. We're here, we're dead chilled. And now I'm like, oh my God, there's a camera
It's
right
shocking.
there. Yeah.
Fell off.
But I think it's nice to tell people like what the purpose of the podcast is. This has been in the works for a year essentially, and it's just been a scheduling problem and us getting round to doing it. And the reason why we are doing it is so that couples who are planning a wedding, or even people who just like listening to wedding stories, is, you know, it's an introduction to suppliers who've been involved in weddings, us. Anything to add?
No, that's exactly it. That was always the plan, wasn't it? To like, I think I said this to someone the other day, and it sounds a bit mingy when you say it about yourself, but yeah. Every time, or a lot of the time, we seem to get feedback, both of us. And obviously, we're very similar to our approach and things like that. The common theme that normally people say is, obviously, the photos and videos are great, but we were the reason that we were booked. Like, our personalities, our dynamic across the three of us most of the time.
Yeah.
And how we work for them on that day. So, like you've just said there, I think this is more around giving everyone a chance to see who we are, like, because obviously all the content we typically put out is very much other people's lives.
Yeah.
Yous are very good at putting a bit of your personal touch on things. Not like mad, but every now and again you'll throw like a little photo up of like yous being out somewhere or something like that.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it gives people an insight into who you are. Yous don't even, this is what I mean, yous don't even realise you're doing it probably. But
No,
I feel there's nothing about me at all anywhere on the roll and stop side of things, especially every now and again I'd put up a bit of courage and say something.
Yeah,
But
it is.
for the majority of the time, it's all other people's pictures, other people's stuff. I
yeah.
think that's why I pinned a picture of myself as the first image on me Roll and Stop page, if you want to check it out.
Shout out Rolling Stone.
Shout out Roll and Stop. That's Roll and Stop _ because I thought, I'm never there. I'm never
If
aware.
anyone's listening to the podcast, you already know what his page is.
Not necessarily.
Okay, yeah.
Some people might find the aisle chat as a standalone thing and then discover
True,
us as a
true.
secondary. Just
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we've got huge followings, because you're Liverpool's top 10
I knew.
Instagram business.
But not.
Was.
2019.
Just because you've got the accolade, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean
Yeah,
that people don't know who you are. You are not your brand.
yeah, I agree.
And I think that's a good way to segue into what this is mainly about, which is about us, but also about us in how we are in other people's lives.
Real life stories as well, isn't it, really? Like people who are getting married, who want to listen to other people's, like, obviously weddings that we've been to. Because I'm a big person on saying, and I always said this on the weekend for like the first time to a couple, but it is expect the unexpected. And that was something that I like spoke about to you yesterday, saying expect the unexpected. You know what it's like at weddings, you turn up, they've been planning it for so long, and something might just happen that weren't part of the day.
Throws your day out a little bit.
Well,
Not necessarily
not every time,
because we
but-
said this, didn't we? Was it Leah we were talking to, the hair?
Yeah.
Little shout out to Leah, we'll throw it on the thing. We said to her, didn't we? Like, it's not a doom and gloom way to look at it.
No.
It's an expectation that only you are setting for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's turning up to your wedding day knowing what your wedding day looks like. Obviously, there's a general outlay-ish, but there's like, they don't know if you've got someone playing guitar.
Yeah.
They don't know if you've got like a dove flying your rings in. They don't know like,
Yeah,
so those pressures are only yours, not everybody else's. And I think that's what people sometimes get caught up in, trying to make that day about everybody else rather than themselves.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that we're going to be trying to hit, I think, when we do these more and more.
And it's so true because we hear it so many times that like brides and grooms say like, oh, I enjoyed someone else's wedding day than my own, because it's all that pressure, all that stress from everyone else, isn't it?
Yeah. And I get why people say that as well, because on the wedding day, you are just needed permanently. And I think it's, you know, and that might sound like really negative, and it's not. Everyone wants a piece of you.
I just think though, like, I think it would do my head in, because I feel like obviously they're meeting all the guests, and I just think you must be having the same conversation with every single person.
Yeah, they
oh,
are.
you look lovely. Oh,
He
how's
said,
your morning been?
was it Mark at the weekend said that, didn't he? But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm having this conversation for the 7th time
Shout out,
already.
Mark.
Shout out Mark, right? Yeah, I had that conversation about 8 times, didn't he?
Yeah.
Everyone's saying to him, how do you feel? It's like, I feel the same as...
It's what happens at weddings though. Like, everyone goes over to the bride and groom, going, how you feeling? Congratulations.
Don't get me wrong, we do it.
Yeah.
What are you...
One of the first things, do you feel married? It's like, shut up.
I do say that to all the couples. I say, you must be getting this all day. And they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's expected. It's allowed, you know?
If there's ever a day that all the emphasis should be on you, but not in a way that it's like really down your throat, that's a good day, because no one's coming up to you giving you negatives, they're only giving you positives.
Yeah.
Just like we do when we hide for a window.
Yeah. And then obviously, you know, we when it comes with weddings, obviously speaking about Lauren and Mark's, I think we did a wedding together, as Ryan mentioned earlier, at the Isle of Gladstone. Is that how it's pronounced, by the way? Because I always call it the Isle of
I
Gladstone.
don't know. A lot of people don't even call it the Isle of Gladstone. Some people call it the Conservatory.
Right? Just a little shout out to the conservatory
I
slash.
think you're
So-
saying Isle Gladstone,
Yeah.
and
Do you say
we're saying
Gladstone?
Stone.
Stone. The Isle of
Stone.
Gladstone.
Is that just because you're from...
Python.
I love the way I'm just getting...
By the way, I think I need to address this now before it makes me look like a proper like
Anti-Highton.
RAT. Like, I'm not anti-Highton. By the way, a lot of people who I know are from Highton. I spent a lot of time in Highton when I used to go to Rugby College as well. By the way,
He's
I've
digging
never-
himself the biggest hole ever here, isn't he?
But I love all of Liverpool. The Highton thing is like a personal joke
It's
for us
just banter,
because
isn't it?
yeah, because you obviously don't live in
It was
Highton.
just
You live in
banter.
somewhere much rougher now. So
Yeah. I love how much stick I get from someone who's from Bootle, so...
hey, there's nothing wrong with Bootle. We've got a sayers in that strand. And I'm not from Bootle either.
Right, let's get back to weddings anyway. Is there anything, like, if you were planning a wedding, obviously you have planned a wedding before, right?
I have. That's
And I love
not
the
3
fact
years.
that
That's one
coming from a
thing.
groom point of view, he sat there being like, yeah, I planned the wedding, when we all know brides do all the
Whoa,
boys.
whoa, whoa,
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Would you vouch for that, Beth? I know you haven't planned the wedding. We're not married
Not
either.
yet.
Shit. Oh, talk about pressure.
I knew that was going to come out at some point, but from a girl point of view,
No, it's very much a female thought process most of the time.
Yeah,
And
the
it-
98% is
Yeah.
probably organised by the female. However, there is.
however, it is 2023 and
Yeah.
lots of same-sex marriages as well.
lots. I've got,
Yeah.
I think, 2 next year at least.
Mm.
But
Sorry,
Yeah.
I want to interrupt there.
Go
on.
I've got a same-sex marriage in December.
Have you, yeah?
Yourself,
Yeah.
yeah.
Boys or
That's
girls?
awesome.
2 girls.
I've never had 2 boys before. I don't really want it. That would be a good clip.
clip it.
Clip it. I want
that
2
recorded?
boys. No. Was it?
Oh, Belsa.
No. I
Live in
know.
our memory.
Every time Matty comes in, I genuinely think like the podcast stops. Do you know what I mean? Like we've all got like...
No, but
No,
it's nice
I
though,
think
because it's like,
I think
it's genuine,
It
isn't
ramps
it?
it up,
Like,
if anything. Are we still recording now? So is it worth saying who Matty is? Or
I think Matty, everyone who's booked Memory Box Films before has had a chance of meeting Matty, I think, at one of their weddings.
Lucky
A
them.
little shout out, Matty. And obviously yourself, Matty and Ryan have done lots of shooting for us as
Yeah,
the dream
all the time.
team. You know what I mean?
Matty, at this moment in time, looking directly at him through the camera, since is obviously the producer. Producer?
Oh my god.
Producer? Production? I was going to say the production behind. I was going to say producer
You're
at the same
building
time.
that
I know
then.
anyone who tries to do something like that always fails in the end. 'cause
Yeah,
we're
but
just not
Matty's
made
obviously the
for this.
production side today, as well as
Matty.
being a 4th member of
and a good friend.
our team.
And a good friend.
And a good friend. That's
Well done,
nice.
Matthew.
That is
Yeah.
nice. We've been on me and Matty have been on loads of long car journeys and coming home at night time where I've thought, I'm not saying he's a bad driver, but he's late night drives with Matty on the way home from a wedding can be...
I feel offended.
I
yeah.
wouldn't be offended. I was just, as a joke really, between me and Matty, he told me a story once where his mum was complaining about his
Car
driving.
friends. Car friends.
Matty's like, don't say that.
Don't bring me mum into this.
My mum already hates me.
Paula cannot
Driving,
listen
by
to
the
this
way.
podcast.
Yeah.
My watch keeps saying that I'm having an outdoor walk.
That means that heart rate,
Your heart rate is up.
heart
I
rate
actually didn't
is-
think about that. Probably is.
yeah, heart rate going through the roof.
I think if I had a watch that told me that I was having an outside walk now.
Yours be telling you running.
Yeah.
No, because
Flying.
flying.
You chasing a car?
Yeah. I actually want to go back to touching on about the weddings of the weekend. I think, everyone who is listening to the podcast wants to hear stories from the wedding. And I think it's a great chance.
Probably for the best.
It is.
My
It is.
memory's
I know we're
short.
talking a bit like your memory's short.
My memory's short.
My memory actually is short
age.
because I was thinking, obviously, on Saturday's wedding, there was a point in the morning preparation where we were talking with the bride and one of the bridesmaids. And then the bridesmaid started giving us all these, I say, horror stories. These stories from a wedding that she attended, which I thought maybe we could share with people, but I actually can't even remember them now.
One was definitely like the music when the bride was walking down the aisle, which was her cousin,
Oh,
started
yeah.
like juttering. So it was like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to sing the song. My voice is not the best at the moment. Not saying that I'm a good singer normally.
As opposed to usual. My baritone.
Yeah, my voice has gone a little bit of all days when we're recording the podcast. But she, yeah,
I'll do it if I want.
basically, you know the story, don't you?
Yeah, I do now. You said
Go on,
it.
yeah. Go on,
It
you
was like,
take over.
it was like a
Which one's-
remix CD, wasn't it?
Wise men.
Men. Yeah, that's what happened. Was you there in the room when this was getting said?
I was there in the room,
Yeah.
but it didn't sound anything like you have just done it.
She was a- she was a
did it so
classic
much
She was a
better.
professional
Yes, she's
singer.
a professional singer.
That's why.
That was I was trying my hardest then.
Of all days to try your hardest was when you got
What
a
you should have said
microphone,
is,
yeah.
I weren't even trying.
Well, anyway, and that was funny because she sat next to the bride, and the poor bride sat there getting her hair done, thinking, "Please do not happen on my day."
My CD, yeah.
I actually said, "Was it a CD that they were using?" She was like, "She just brushed past it." I thought they must have been using a CD. I've never heard
gotta do it.
Spotify like start jumping halfway through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the poor bride sat there, and I think that is a common theme in the bridal prep at times where us suppliers are sat there. We do work with each other quite often sometimes, like hair and makeup girls. We see the same faces at weddings, which is nice, innit?
Yeah, and we always only ever seem to share like the bad stories or like the funny stories, never like the good, positive stories that happen on
There's
a wedding day.
multiple of.
There's
Yeah.
loads of good stories. Every wedding's got a good story involved, hasn't it?
Well,
But we all fall into the
single
bracket
one.
of just telling funny stories of like, oh my God.
Did you
Can you
actually try that thing, that
The feet
the
thing.
feet thing?
Don't tell me you did.
No, I didn't. I kept every
wa-
time I've thought about it.
Add context to it then. We don't know what you're
I know.
about.
I'll let Matty know anyway.
Go on,
so
tell Matty.
basically, we were at this wedding on Saturday, and the makeup artist said to us, "Oh, have you ever tried this thing? Right? So have you got a mirror in your bedroom where if you lie on your bed, you can see yourself in the mirror?" So I'm like, "Okay."
Christine Grey vibes.
Can you do that in our bedroom? So I was like, yeah. She's like, what you need to do when you go home, you need to lie on your belly, put your feet up in the air so you can look in the mirror and see your feet behind your head. And I'm telling you now, if you tell your feet to go right, they won't go right. Whichever direction you tell your feet to go in, it doesn't happen. And I was like, really? She's like, I've tried it, my husband's tried it, my kids have tried it. She's like, make sure you try it when you go home. But I still haven't tried. So please, if anyone is listening, someone try it and tell me if it's true.
Wait, say it again. What? I'm
Lads,
totally lost by
I was
that.
just as
I think
confused as you
it's
was.
as confusing
Yeah.
as you're hearing it now.
Yeah.
So lie on your stomach, facing a mirror on your bed or whatever, so you can see yourself.
Who's got a mirror by the bed like that, by the way?
Christine Grey.
And put
In
your
the red
feet
room?
up behind your head so you can see your feet like
As if you're doing like a crab, so to speak.
backwards.
Yeah,
crab,
Yeah,
crab,
yeah.
that's
belly.
maybe dead. So the other way around.
Yeah, and then tell your feet to like move, like
Crabs like that,
rotate.
shapes like that.
And she was saying that if you tell your feet to go one way, it won't. It's physically impossible.
That cannot be impossible, that. Surely.
I said that.
I don't know if it's like an illusion thing, because obviously in the
It's just-
mirror,
yeah,
things
it's
mirrors are reversed.
Something like
but
that.
she was saying you can't do it and you need to go home and try it.
So what is it like if you try and move your right foot, your left foot moves also? Is that
No,
what
I
it
think
looks like? Or
if you're moving your right foot left, it'll move right. Like that type of.
The
I
opposite.
think. I mean, I don't know. I haven't tried it, but I will have to try it. Maybe we could do a little video and put it on the Instagram.
I think we should.
I think you
See
should,
how
yeah.
we get on.
I
Yeah.
think we get a lot of hits off that if you did it.
Oh, that's a bit
No, I
Yeah,
think you can do
We
that.
don't get it if we did it. We just look like marshmallows
To
riding
be fair,
around.
Ryan's obsessed with the gym at the moment, so I'm
Well-
sure he's being in his element, taking his top off. Wouldn't you? Showing your tattoos off.
She didn't say
not
anything
these
about taking
tattoos.
your top off.
Not these tattoo. Yeah, but you know.
Why have you just got it in your head that you've got to be naked? By the way, like why you
have to
thinking
be
like that?
I think that's a maturity thing.
I
Or
think
lack thereof.
Ryan's still maturing. But yeah, that was the most. That's what you at wedding days. You hear them stories when people like that makeup artist told you.
But at the same time, those type of things, those type of little things, and us being suppliers, seeing other suppliers all the time, I think for a couple, especially a bride, which is pretty much what the morning is based around loosely, unless you've got the opportunity to spend with the groom as well. If they can see that you've worked with these other people, other suppliers before, and have them like funny kind of momentary stories, that kind of might set them at ease also. So I think great.
It's lovely working with the same face all the time. And I think when it comes to, as you've just sort of touched on, really, when you're a bride and you're planning a wedding, it's like, I always feel like the first task that a bride will do or a groom will do when they come to book the wedding is book the venue, get the date set, and then the next person down the line is the photographer, I think.
/ videographer.
No, I don't think so. I genuinely don't. It's very, well, we do get the odd times where people come to us and they haven't got a photographer book, but I think that's on the up, innit?
I literally said this to you, I think, last week about like the difference between photos and videos, and might be doing myself out of a job here, but I said a lot of the time videos now, especially with the way that social media works towards like throwing stuff out, videos are a lot more encapsulating of a moment sometimes than a photo might ever be.
I think that's just the way the platforms are being put out there at the moment.
Yeah.
Like you've got TikTok out there, which is all like short snippet videos, which is even making us like do shorter snippet videos to get the algorithm in our favour. For photographers, essentially, they're having to do reels with images like you're basically what you're doing now, like little
I think
slideshows
it's I wouldn't say slightly harder, but it's slightly harder to
to
put
promote.
across
Yeah.
how that moment was without seeing the movement within that moment. And I think that's why
Yeah.
videos are maybe starting to become a bit more of a
In saying that though, we're what we're doing essentially when with weddings, when you're capturing a wedding, that's not just for Instagram and TikTok. That's literally for lifetime. It's lifetime memory. It's timeless. You're giving something back to someone, which they're gonna either show the kids or the kids are gonna keep it one. As morbid as that sounds, I must admit when you talk about weddings and what we do on the day, it can become very morbid because we're there essentially for the memory side, and I always say that like they can spend.
People aren't there forever, are they? And if you can capture them having a good time or just in that moment celebrating your special wedding day, like it's priceless. Like you literally can't get that back.
No, and touching on that, I said to you, and I don't know whether I told you. Actually, me and you spoke about this morning. About
unless you're about to say something, I'm going to say something dead
on.
profound, which Beth has just said, but I'll let you
Go
speak
on.
first.
No, go on.
I think when we were at a wedding, literally the same wedding this weekend had a big like full circle of like what
Yeah.
this is kind of like, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think when someone said something around the lines of like what they planned for the day and what they got in terms of venue, dress, all the stuff that you kind of get towards a wedding, and one of the things that Beth said, Beth over there, was when all's said and done, when your venue's being used, when your wedding dress is being taken off, and when you know your rings are on your fingers and stuff like that, all you're left with a lot of the time are your memories, and those memories are made up of what we do, photos and videos, and that's all you've got left. So
Yeah.
a big emphasis should be like, I think there's like a check box thing, isn't it, where like people,
Planning.
I think this is right as well, by the way, venue is ultimately first because you need to know your date.
Yeah.
And then from then it should go like, obviously have an idea of what you're going to wear and stuff, but photo and video should be next priority. That's not even from a bias point of view. That's just like a reality point of view.
Yeah.
Because
Well-
they're going to tell you your story, what you put into that day.
So I'm just going to put this on you now because you've just made that great observation of why you should obviously have a photographer and videographer on the day and why they're important to book. But when you come to plan your wedding, how do you do it? How did you basically book a photographer? I actually never asked you this before.
How did I book one?
Yeah.
Well, it was a funny one because
It's funny, Johnny stuff. He hasn't got a clue because he didn't do it. It was definitely Becky.
No,
And I was like,
no.
Yeah, you know.
no,
just,
it was all me. It was all me.
Say the
She was consulted.
No, the photographer, must have been you. I think
It was
because
all
obviously,
me. She basically said to me because of
All me.
it's my world. It was all me.
well, it is though. It's your world.
Because it was
like-
my world. She was like, she had an idea of aesthetics and like what certain people will look like, and that there's certain visuals that people create in different tones and whatever you want to put it. But ultimately, she left it down to me because I see it all the time, and I obviously look at not just my work but other people's work and stuff like that. Whereas she probably sees mine mostly, except if she sees someone getting married. But like she said, this is your world. You give me a few options type of thing, and like we'll kind of decide together. I decided, and then I think initially when we thought we were going to have it here, because no one will know this story, but we didn't have our wedding here.
When you
We
say
had-
here, where did you get married? Because you're telling the story, paint the picture.
Yeah, so obviously we're from Liverpool. We didn't get married in Liverpool. We went through the like where venues, what venues, all that type of stuff, and then we thought, right, so I don't know, we just didn't want to like not copy, but we didn't want to go somewhere where I've been multiple.
It's hard, isn't it? In our job, we go to that many venues in the
Exactly.
northwest and further field.
They're
Really,
associated with couples now.
You're associated, your memories stick with other people, and I didn't want our memories being convoluted with anybody else's. Big word there for me. So
Especially from Bill.
we decided to go to Cornwall for our wedding in a place called Cassaw's Bar, and if you want to look it up, boss place run by an amazing family, and we went to Cornwall for that. So I suppose it made it easier in a certain way, because obviously if you had it here, I'd have to kind of pick from other creators around here,
Yeah.
which would have been difficult, because then it's not that we've got mates, although we have kind of. Just
Yeah,
like,
oh, that's nice.
like, past that, like you wouldn't want anyone to think like, oh, you picked them because or anything. So it was nicer for me to be able to pick someone from outside that area who had their own like take, their own spin. They weren't in Liverpool or even based close by. So initially we booked what the venue told us to book.
Which is just jumping out of that for a moment. Venues can give you like a supplier list where they're top recommendations,
recommended suppliers,
and not just basically being a negative person, because I don't know how many venues we're like on the supplier list for. We actually don't know, do we really? And I'm not going to say a number of like, oh, we're on their suppliers books and like blow smoke up our ass, really. But what I was going to say was, venues do give you like that supplier list, and sometimes couples fall under the bad habit of just booking all them people, and then later down the line they come across someone they regret it because they go, actually we didn't even look, we just went with what the venue
there's
said.
so much out there in every different like avenue for a wedding plan, and there's so many venue dresses, so many makeup artists, so many hair, and just get what you want.
It's finding the people
it's your day, you just do what you want to do.
It's finding the people who are like more like you, who you want to be a part of your day. If you just book like someone from that supplier list and then comes to the day, you just don't gel with them, and they actually, when you look back at your wedding day, you think they proper ruined that moment for me, or they just didn't do what I really didn't get to know me.
That's what happened. That is literally what happened to us. So ours was meant to be the first year when COVID happened. Ours was meant to be May 2020, and with the way that we had to postpone it, it gave us time, because I booked the girl who the venue told us to book, or like give us said this is the girl that we always use. I booked her, but immediately from the off, I just didn't get that, like what you've just said there. You just didn't get that gel feeling from it. Her pictures were lovely on the initial outlook of it, and like I was thinking, yeah, she's good. She's got that nice colour tone that I like and stuff. But then the more time went on, the more I seen what she was doing, the less I thought she was for me. And we ultimately made the decision to like not go with her in the end, and it was nothing to do with anything that she'd done wrong or anything. It was just an observation from my point of view when you had that time to really think it through, and that's when we ended up with our official photographer, Katie Goff, who you met.
We had the pleasure.
Yeah.
I know I do that a lot.
Forgetting about me there.
I know, I didn't forget about you. We had the pleasure of working with. She was brilliant, and I thought she was a very similar style to you as a photographer. She got to obviously know you. She got to know the couple, which is obviously you and Becky getting married, so she knew what you wanted beforehand. She didn't just turn up and be like, "This is what I'm doing." She was basically asking you like, "What type of things would you like from me to capture the views to?"
One of the first things she did, which the original person didn't, is as soon as I was telling her about why we were, like we said, I've already got someone booked, but we are thinking about going with somebody else, and you're hot on our list. The first exact, like I think it was almost that same day, said, "Can I give you a quick call and just like talk this out with you?" And within that call, which was only about 20 minutes long,
sold.
I was like, "You are much more my wavelength." And I say this, I was at that wedding fair yesterday, obviously, and I was saying this to a few people, not everyone, but I was saying to a few people, like, the more you can meet the people that you're going to be spending that time with. Like, luckily, a lot of people, especially with makeup artists, they've probably had someone who's their mate, or they've been going to for years, girls especially. Like, I don't know any photographers who I, like, work with all the time, because I don't work with any. It's always me and you, obviously.
Yeah.
So you didn't have that. But, like, she immediately just touched base with us and just understood, and like was really for us. And like you've just said, at the end of it all, when it came down after the wedding was gone and we got our pictures back, which were great, it was all like I kind of like in a small way, and I was like, that was a guest at our wedding. That's how she was, and that's how we try and put ourselves out, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
we always try and say that we're coin the phrase, we're people first, and then like your photographer, video team secondary.
Knew that was going to come out in the first
Of course
podcast.
it is. Of course
Knew
it
that
is.
was going to come out in the
It's
first
because it's the most
podcast.
important. Like we
Go
are.
on, I want you to say it like a soundbite because this is gonna come up reoccurring all the time, and I think it'd be so great if you'd done it.
Little alarm.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, key. So we
No,
say
say like more like yourself.
we're
we are
always
people first.
and photographers, videographers.
Sorry, I did
second.
speak over you then.
I know.
Sorry
Take
about
two.
that. Take two.
Take two. We're people first and videographers, photographers second.
We got mentioned first, videographers first.
We'll use our first.
Well, thanks.
Sometimes.
So obviously people who are listening to the podcast, they've just heard an insight of how you went through the process of booking your photographer
Yeah.
and like what that meant to you after the wedding. And I think when we get our feedback from our couples, it's always nice to hear that we weren't just someone who was there to capture the day. We were actually a massive part of it and we made it for them. I know a lot of the time from a video point of view.
Made it for them.
Well, we didn't make it for them, but
No, I know.
a lot
Obviously, I
of
know
the
what you're saying
time,
because I see the reviews, but
a lot of the time when we get our reviews back, it's always like, and people might take this a little bit like.
That's why I said before,
strange.
it's mingy when you say it about yourself. But
Yeah.
it happens so often that people say, like, not just we loved you, but like, my mum and
Yes.
dad were
Yeah, yeah.
made up. Or our auntie who's like down from wherever said, oh, weren't they lovely? And
Saturday's-
that's like a continuous thing. That's where you start to tend to believe that that's
Saturday's
true.
wedding, we walked out. We hugged that many people on the way out, which is, it doesn't happen at every wedding. So don't think we're going to turn to your wedding, start hugging your nan. But on Saturday's wedding,
Ryan
For your
might.
nan. I'll look for you. I'll be lying for your nan.
Ryan's always looking for the nans. But for us on Saturday, we hugged about 4 or 5 people and we say, oh, lovely to meet you. Enjoy the rest of your night because it'll go really quick and that sort of thing. And we were obviously out the door.
But that was genuine, wasn't it?
Yeah,
through the day?
definitely
And
genuine.
This is what we always say to in our
And we don't.
consultations.
Hang on. Let me just interrupt a little bit. It's never not genuine. I would definitely.
No.
I would definitely not go over to someone and start giving them a hug, being like,
Just because.
lovely meeting you. You know, like
Yeah,
during
no,
conversation.
that's what I was going to allude to there. Like most of the time, we will only ever do that if we felt that it was right to do so, because you don't know how some people might react to that. Sorry,
But we
cut
are.
that out.
But we are emotionally
like,
connected on the day.
we
with
are, of
people.
course we are, and we say that in the consultations, don't we? That we're not trying to turn up and be like a big film crew and a like stage crew making you do awkward, silly stuff. We're like turning. I was going to say something else then.
I'll say it then.
No, I
This
was
is
just
your
gonna say,
podcast,
I keep
Ryan,
on
you
saying,
can
I
say
keep on
whatever
saying
you want.
mingy, but I need to stop saying mingy because it's mingy to say it.
Yeah.
But we don't turn up and try and be like the big like film crew, like production, whatever. We get that because it looks great. Hopefully, people think that way.
The
as
biggest
well,
compliment-
when you give it, but the biggest compliment to us is that we've turned up and people have just genuinely warmed to us throughout the day, and that's why when the night is over, we have that ability to be able to go around to the people we spoke to throughout that day, whether it be bride or groom or guests, and say like, you know, it was boss meeting you today, and like it makes us at ease as well, because I always say this to people, and not all the time, not like I have it like a script, but the thing for us is if you can let us into your lives a little bit more, the more you let us in, the more authentic it is from our approach, and the better your end product will be, because we're all essentially one, you know, formatted team.
Yeah, I think like our main aim is to try and find the balance of obviously capturing things naturally. Like we never stage anyone, nothing's ever forced, but then also like being there as a friend to
Yeah.
them, like helping them out in the morning, helping them with things, like just being there to chat, keeping them at ease and stuff. So
I think you're the best at being a friend.
I think
Ah.
lately all Becky keeps doing is. buttoning
She's a
dresses up.
professional dress buttoner up there.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, the bride's like, thank you so much. Even though I wanted my mum to do it, which we always get the mum doing like the first 2 buttons. But if Beth's in the room, you end up doing the rest because you know what it's
She's a
like.
pro.
No, but you're all hot and bothered, aren't you? And the
Yeah.
pressure's getting to your time's catching up, and you just want to get dressed and get out the door and feel like you're all fingers and thumbs, aren't you? So sometimes it's just easy to go, do you want me to do it?
She's
I
not
love
just a videographer.
I love when Beth's there. Obviously,
I've tried to button
people
up
might.
at brides.
Lads, I've tried to do it. I always think when I work with you, sometimes I watch Beth do it, and Beth just goes click, 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 click. And I was like, she makes that look dead easy. I'll do it next time. Like, I'll look like I'm helping. And I went, oh, do you want me to do it? And you go, yeah, go ahead. And I went, I'm sure she does it with a hair clip. And I get this clip like it's a miracle cure. And I go, can't do it.
No, the funniest thing is, right, can you imagine what it's like for me living with Beth when we button up the bed? Because she's literally like rapid at it. She makes me do a race every single time with it, and I get blitzed.
Always lose.
Yeah, I've got to get a cob on now about it. I get like 1 button in,
Complex.
she's 5 in, and I just go to that. I'm not doing it anymore
I think
now.
he's like that with the tongue. I'm trying to do it in every...
So can you feel? I feel sorry for the bride who gets me. Who goes, "Go on, love, I'll put it up for you," because you can just see how long it's going to take. The dad's at the bottom.
I can imagine yours
you
now.
coming down, love?
I can literally envisage your room. Obviously, I know what your room looks like. Wow. Statement. But like, we're a close team, we're not that close. But like, I obviously know what your room's like because you took me on a big studio tour when you got your lovely new housemaid.
Thanks.
And like, little shout out there. Josh's dad, by the way. Don't know about
Oh,
that.
I knew that was going to
Yeah, I'm a good segue. Yeah. But like, I'm just imagining you just standing there in that like 8 by 12-foot room because it's massive, trying to butter up a bed sheet.
Yeah.
And then Beth just swings in and just goes one-handed.
I was going to reference a TV show then people might know, but I'm not going to do it. Click of the fingers, if anyone knows. No one know that? No. Maybe. I want people to comment if they know what this means.
I have got no idea what you mean.
Sorry, it's knocked the mic. But yeah, in the morning side, when it comes to that buttoning up and it can be hot and bothered, it just actually made me think
like
of like...
Dobby.
What?
What's this?
Oh yeah,
Dobby.
That could be a
I was
Dobby
thinking it's got to be Harry Potter.
No, it's not Harry Potter.
Yeah,
But anyway,
to everyone looking, Josh
is
and he
obsessed.
loves when this happens. Josh is about 8 years old and loves Harry Potter.
Excuse me.
I'm about to get like torn apart by Harry Potter fans. I know.
I hope you do. And anyone who likes Harry Potter, get in touch.
But like, yeah, when there's any Harry Potter reference, Josh is usually at the brunt end.
Weddings.
Matty's a big Harry Potter fan as well, so he can vouch. He can stick up for me.
No, I wasn't saying like I was getting involved. I was like, as soon as you hear Harry Potter, you run away with everything. The conversation will completely change.
Yeah.
And it'll be Harry Potter for like the next half an hour.
Yeah,
And maybe he's got anything to do with it.
This podcast is not about Harry Potter, so...
Well, you brought it up.
Loosely.
Yeah, you brought it up. So yeah, obviously mentioning the morning prep and you obviously buttoning the brides up. I was just going to relate to Saturday's wedding, Lauren and Mark's, where that moment between the dad. I know this podcast we're going to speak about so many stories of like what happens on a wedding day, but I cannot talk about a wedding and not mention the reveal. And if anyone who's never been to a wedding or never been involved in the morning prep of a wedding, the reveal is like one of my favourite parts of the day.
And some people don't want them, do they? But I do think they definitely should be captured. Some people just go, oh no, I don't want it, it'd be too emotional, or we're not like that in our family. But I still think like no matter what reaction you get, you still should capture it. Because someone will react in a way that you will never expect them to.
And you never get that moment back of someone seeing you for the first time in your wedding dress. Or if you're suited and booted and you want, like, you know, from a lad's point of view, seeing your mum or dad and them seeing you on your wedding day, it bring, you know, you're a parent, we're parents, that you, when you see them in their like wedding attire, it'll take you back to when they were kids and thinking, oh my God, I envisioned this day coming along and I can't believe it's happening now. And that just hits you in waves. And you see it all the time on wedding days where the mums and dads, they're not emotional wrecks because they're not, but you can see it hitting them in waves. And on Saturday's wedding, when I was stood at the bottom of the stairs with Laura's dad, Keith was his name? Keith, yeah. Good memory. Keith. And I said, he was like, I'm just a brickie, me. I'm not like, and I went, it doesn't, because I'm holding the camera, it doesn't mean that I'm not a person. I didn't say that to him, but I was very much like, honestly, this moment is one of the favourite moments for me. And I will be here as like someone you can talk to. Don't feel like, because I've got a camera in my hand, you can't.
Gotta be anything,
I'm
you know.
fake, you know what I mean? I'm not a real person. And I sort of reassured him and said, this is one of them moments you probably thought about for years to come, where obviously Laura's been growing up and you think, oh, you know, walking her down the aisle, it's a privilege. It's from a father's point of view with a daughter and even with a son. And his reaction was just so real and genuine. And I know we go to so many weddings and we see so many real and genuine moments, but just because we, you know, that happened on the weekend.
Fresh in the mind,
that happened on the weekend.
And they had such a lovely relationship as well. And then even after that, we went into the living room and done another reveal with obviously bridesmaids, grandparents, brother.
Yeah, and I, in saying that, because sometimes I know brides and grooms, when they think of reveals, they think they best cry, or they best do this, they best do that.
I think
it never goes that way.
I was about to say before, sorry to hold you, but I was about to say before when we were talking about it, I think people have it in their minds how people will react. And I've seen it so many times where they go, oh yeah, my dad's not like that, or, you know, my nan's not like that, or whoever they're doing the reveal to, they're not like that, they're just not emotional. If we can be there to capture an emotion that you're not used to them being like...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You can never get that moment back. You'll never get that real tear. You'll never get it. So I think that's sometimes a lovely surprise that people get it the opposite of what they thought it would be.
Yeah, and it doesn't always have to be like people who have brought you up your whole life. It can even be like your kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes when your kids walk in, that for you, is it, oh my God, you're seeing mummy, you're seeing daddy
I
like
cried
this?
at a pair of trainees. Obviously, you witnessed it because you filmed my wedding. But like,
That was the...
when Becky got me them pair of branded trainees, not in the trainee, because they're not sponsored.
Let's touch on Ryan being so emotional in a wedding day, even his own wedding day. I was there capturing.
You can't say this now.
We can.
Nearly crying now when I'm thinking about it. Not my
you?
thing, but like about you saying how emotional I get in other people's wedding days.
Well, yeah.
Makes me look like a bit of a wet fish.
You are a little bit of a wet fish, and Beth can be that way at times. I don't think I'm as emotional as you too, but I am emotionally connected, and I think if we're talking about emotions and stuff, my part of a day where I feel more emotionally connected is when I see a groom or a best man saying to it, this is weird saying this, but when another man speaks about another man, so in like an emotional way, I feel more like, oh my God, that's
Brave.
It's not brave. It is brave in a way because you're saying it to a group of people publicly, and no one ever speaks publicly unless you're a school teacher or whatever. But it's like, oh my God, like that is so real. That's so
Refreshing,
genuine.
I think.
Yeah, it's so real and genuine. It's off script. I think it's one of them things where not everyone says it, and you don't say it every single day.
You never tell your mates.
Even on the weekend, the best man and the groom were like, I don't say it enough to you, but you just get me through some days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And weddings do bring that out of people. And I think
so.
with this podcast, we're going to speak about a lot of them stories happening. So on your wedding day, don't always feel like it's going to happen. Not to put a doom and gloom on it.
If your dad doesn't cry, I'll cry for him.
Yeah.
Which is actually likely to happen, by the way.
When I was in the car this morning on the radio, something wedding related come up, and I thought, maybe I could put this question to use in the podcast. So the question was, do you think first dates should be allowed to attend at a wedding? So basically,
Ooh, I
Yeah.
like that. I
I
like that.
know.
Hello. Let's be doing it all way.
I think that's a good point to make.
So basically,
No.
right there, I haven't finished.
Bloody
No,
hell.
so basically, obviously,
answer.
you could be there in the day and then be allowed a +1 in the evening. So for your
Right.
+1, would you bring, or is it
Hang on a
acceptable to
minute.
bring
I think
first date?
I might have listened to what you've said differently. So do you mean if you say like I'm going to a wedding tonight,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking about taking someone on a date? Not that I ever am, Becky. I would never do that to you. But like, if I've like asked someone to come to that wedding with me as that's our first date, is that what
Yeah.
you mean?
Daytime guest.
Yeah, just as your +1.
Just as your +1,
So you
as your
could have
very
been-
first interaction. I
Yes.
thought I thought you were talking
Wow.
about. I think initially I thought you were talking about a person that you've already been with in the past, bringing them to a wedding as your guest.
No, it's literally
No,
like,
so basically
met you on
you're-
Tinder, I've got a wedding on Saturday, do you want to come?
Do you want to go to the wedding?
Imagine the person going, yeah, that's
It's got to be on Radio 1 or something, because that's the type of
Shout
thing
out
that they
Radio
say.
1.
I don't know what radio station I'm on, but basically
She's
the
on a grass on
story. I know.
herself.
Can I say that?
BBC
Yeah.
Merseyside.
The story was so that this I don't know whether it was male or female, was attended the wedding in the day, and then of
Front.
an evening was allowed a +1. So she was I think it was a woman, must have been a woman. She was single, didn't have anyone there, or wasn't speaking to
Nighttime
anyone.
guest.
No, she was a daytime guest.
She was a daytime guest, but in
But
the
was
night
al-
she could allow someone
She
to
was
come.
allowed a +1.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, you haven't let me finish. yet.
Nighttime guest. And you can make anyone. You can
Well,
say to your
she
neighbour, "Do you
did.
wanna come?"
She did. She brought the waiter from the wedding in the daytime.
Sick.
She obviously
Goes on
found,
you as
Hey,
well.
hey, I tell you what, he's flying
Yeah,
there.
he's brave.
she found the waiter obviously attractive, got on with him, and she invited him after his shift to attend the
What
wedding.
time did she
And he
finish?
did. He actually did.
I'm actually finishing now. Well, funny you should say that. Did he get changed? or
Take
did
your
he...
penny off, lad.
Did... I was about to say, did he get changed, or was everyone like, excuse me, mate, are you still...
Imagine that. The waiter from the thing. I would never have had to stay. I feel like, it's my time, this, you know.
He'd be getting tips and all that. You're like,
No, but imagine
yeah,
like,
lads, I go to the bar.
I got the bar, yeah. Here's your money.
Just go
Put
behind
one on for me there, Julie.
Yeah.
no, but imagine looking back at your wedding photos and films and being like, who the hell is that? Like all on your pictures.
waiter that-
Do you know what? I think that's set up perfectly though, because even if the date didn't go anywhere and like that, you'll always be like, oh, he was just a waiter, weren't he? But he
Boss
was
story
very
though as well.
involved.
Boss story, that.
Yeah.
But
Like,
is it acceptable?
That's different when it's your own wedding, innit? So I need to like,
Like,
I
no,
need
but
to
I-
speak
I think
on my
it's
own
is
wedding.
it acceptable and who is it acceptable to? I think it's acceptable for the person, we'll say girl in this case, because you said it was acceptable for her to ask him, because that was just an initial attraction, and it was just like, what time do you finish? Just want to hang around with me tonight type of thing. I think that's acceptable because that's just natural connection. But from maybe the bride's point of view, she's like, What are you doing to me?
Are you that observant though on your wedding day where
I
you're a
know,
bit
but
like...
She's probably weren't even bothered.
I think a lot of the time, like, you're watching people have conversations at weddings, especially of an evening, you've invited your mate from work and they bring their fella and you see it and you're like, oh, this is Joe. And
Yeah.
it's like, I was thinking, like, would I want people to come and I, like, didn't know their other
took me
half
to a
or
wedding
whatever?
before, and I've never known anyone, and I've had to do that thing where, oh, this is Josh, and I've been like, oh yeah, congratulations, and it's...
True, actually.
I've done that, so I've been that +1 before where you don't know anyone.
Not on a first date, though.
Yeah, and the other bouncy castle there, not on the first
He wasn't
date,
the
like.
waiter.
I wasn't the waiter, not that night.
Getting to know you.
But yeah, it's, do you know what? If it was our wedding bet and, you know, one of our mates was single, and as a laugh, they were like, yeah, I'm going to bring the waiter as a
I think
laugh
that's what I
for the
mean.
time.
I think
see the funny
I'd
sides.
find that funny. I'd
Yeah,
find
yeah.
hysterical.
Yeah.
I would.
You go, you couldn't just
But-
get your drinks off him now. You'd have to get
But-
his tongue as well.
If they were like the
That's
film...
a bad thing to say.
If they were literally like the Owen Wilson film, Wedding Crashes, where like they're literally standing up doing a speech and all that, like they've known me for years, and
Yeah,
then I would
that's
be a bit
different.
like, hang on,
That's different.
do you know what I mean? But that's like that's a nice point, that I think.
Well done,
But
man.
then daytime guest, then that's a different ball game altogether, isn't
Yeah.
it? Daytime guest is like,
Bringing his own tea to the table. Bringing his own... it's just here, shall I?
yeah, I think daytime
lunch.
guest.
Yeah.
Like even obviously, I'll touch on on one of our friends who went to a wedding, who we filmed the wedding for. I'm not going to say his name, might be listening, but Ryan. Don't be worrying, lads. We're fine. We're on.
Just making sure.
So I'll start the segments again. Only messing. But
So we were filming a friend's
so
wedding.
we were filming someone's wedding that we knew, and a lot of people who were there we knew. And one of our friends was taking his partner. He hadn't been with her that long, but it was long enough to ask the bride and groom, "Am I okay to bring her now as my +1?" Because when the wedding was originally sent out the invite, he was single, so they never really give him a +1. That makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
So when the planning preparations are being going on and the wedding's being coming up, he's obviously being serious now with this girl, and he's messaged the couple being like,
That happens,
"Can I
though.
ring?" But then, as I say, that's not a bad thing. I think if one of our friends was single and they were like, "Oh yeah, I've met this girl," and then our wedding was 12 months down the line and they were still together,
But then I know what you're saying. Yeah, like I am the same. But yeah, but then for some people, it's such a tight. They're so tight on numbers that like
tight in numbers or tight with finance.
no, like the
close.
venue could. Well, yeah, the venue could only accommodate so many people, or your budget can only accommodate so many people, and then you're then obviously people can fall out over it.
Of course
You
they
go
can,
like,
I know.
oh well, I want to bring my partner. It's like, well, we really can't afford it, or we haven't got the space. It's like, well, I'm not coming then.
It's family politics
It's
and friends
like-
politics where like a kid's invited and stuff like that. But touching on your wedding, I know we spoke about a lot about your wedding, which I know you're comfortable talking about it, but you
No, I'm not.
a year ago from now, just over a year ago, yours was a very intimate wedding. So a lot of people who might be listening might be planning this big white wedding in this location that's like, I'm going to say Peckforton Castle. It's coming to mind. Big,
Seems
massive...
to be a recent favourite, doesn't it, with the local
Celebrity,
hierarchy.
Ray
It's
Quinn.
a stunning venue. We've shot there loads of times this year, and it's brilliant to work at. Me being like the professional, I say that.
Peckforton, if you want to sponsor us.
But as I'm trying to say, a lot of people do have the smaller wedding, and when it comes to your wedding, you planned a wedding. I said wedding about 5 million times. Then when you come to plan your
It's a
big
wedding
day,
podcast.
when it comes to plan your big day, and you're changing up a little bit, you only had like 12 guests there. In looking back to anyone who's listening who might be planning just an immediate wedding, would you still say it's important to have a photographer and videographer there, even if
Yeah.
your guests are limited?
100%. Every single time. Even if at one point it was coming to the point where when it was all COVID and stuff like that, and everyone can relate to this because loads of people had to postpone the weddings through COVID or other COVID related issues. We won't go into that because that's a whole different
We need
ballgame.
some like sound effects here, 'cause I think when you say stuff like that, we should play some music. No, that's a bit insensitive.
I know, yeah.
Thing to
People
say.
died, Josh.
I know.
But yeah, no, like at one point when it was all zones and all that type of stuff, at one point it was like it was nearly just me, Becky Thea, like me now wife and me daughter. That was
Yeah.
all it was going to be. And at that time, I was thinking, I'll take my own. Like that's genuinely what happened. Like even if it was on like a GoPro or something, I
Seriously?
needed something because
To remember the day by.
memories.
Box films.
Like what we've just said before, so typically memories are mostly negative. And I don't mean in a bad way, but I mean
From
like,
your own
when we
mindset.
talked about, like when we were talking about other suppliers before, and we said like, you're only, the ones that stick out in your mind are the funny ones or the ones that didn't go well or whatever like that. Like I always talk about not having the speaker when we walked down the aisle and stuff like that.
I think
that we
Becky
played
didn't
on
find
a
it
phone.
funny.
Becky didn't find it funny
I was
because she
gonna
researched that music for months.
Bring context up to it. Basically, Ryan's wedding, as this aisle went on for about 10 years. And obviously, as you can see...
It was a field, really.
It was a
wasn't
field, but it was stunning. And
Tree lines.
Tree lines. It was absolutely like something else for film. Thankfully, we filmed it. Obviously, as she's coming up the aisle, there was no music at all. And I think, as we mentioned, touched on before,
There was a
music
speaker
being...
that should have been at like the bottom of the aisle and the top of the aisle, like connected,
Something
so like
didn't
everyone
work.
could hear it.
Yeah.
And obviously, you just
Something didn't happen in the end, and I said this to the girl, it makes it sound like proper like tight, but like we end up, I think either Becky's brother or someone.
No, it was
played
your Mason.
Was it our Mason?
Yeah, yeah.
Played it on his phone, literally under the pagoda where we got married, which
In the
was
glass.
fine for us.
It was literally...
It was fine for us. Like, classy us. But under the pagoda it was, which was fine because it was close proximity. You could hear it. But for like the whole reason was like they were walking up the aisle to hear that music as you're walking up to gain the emotion and whatever.
Yeah.
In
was
post,
not there.
in post, we put the song in for
I know
you.
you did,
We made
but
it sound
like-
like it was actually playing.
Yeah, like it was a bit mad.
And the registrar was just like chatting to you, wasn't she, when
Yeah.
Becky was walking down the aisle?
I know, weird.
Registrars, back off.
But yeah, no, getting back to it, I would always recommend photo and video most of the time to everyone who can afford it, which is not always the case. But during COVID as well, skipping away from me, the very few weddings that I did within COVID time where you were only allowed a certain amount of guests, Danielle specifically, who obviously we've stayed in touch with since. A little shout out for you there, girl. We've kept in touch since because it was so intimate and so personal and so perfect in a small way. Almost like the smaller amount of numbers rose the emotion because you could see the
How many
reaction
numbers did
from
you have on the
everyone.
wedding day?
15. It was 15. You were allowed 15.
15?
Including you.
And me.
Including you.
I don't know if it was because at one point you were allowed
You were horrible,
only
weren't you, with
15
stuff
people,
like that?
weren't you? You were only allowed 15, including any suppliers or whatever.
Yeah.
And then at some point it became your family and then your suppliers. So I don't know which side of that it was, but I was there to witness it with a very small number of people, and it was. And it's there's a shows it just sticks out in my mind. But what I was getting to is typically if you're really leaving it to yourself for your own memories, if you've had this big day, like we said about brides, they put it all in their minds out, like how stressed they get about it and stuff like that. No one else knows what your day looks like, so only you will have those what didn't go right issues most of the time.
Yeah.
Us being there from a photo and video standpoint will enable you to see the better part of it, the good parts.
Yeah.
And I watch our stuff all the time, look at our photos, watch our videos, and keep reminding myself, not of the speaker that we didn't have when we played on our phone, but the look on
And
my
the
face
rings, what
when...
were in the box.
Shh. And the look on Thea's face, the look on Becky's face, looking at Effie and, sitting out there looking at us, that's what I can see. Not
That's
the
lovely,
speaker that weren't there,
Yeah.
because the music is now there, it's replaced.
Yeah.
We're good at doing that, is like...
In post, we can do a lot of things, can't we?
Making people have the day that they want. Like Savannah and Max has recently...
Honestly, when you were saying all that
Right.
then about things not going to plan,
Yeah.
Savannah and Max
popped into
went
my
all the way
head.
to Spain. Last thing you're thinking about when you're going abroad, the weather.
Especially Spain.
The weather.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it literally rained, I would say, about 80% of her day during the main part of that day.
Yeah.
And like if you want to, you've probably seen some of this. This was
the unexpected.
this was in our competition, what we put out recently. All of the photos and videos that we gave back to them, you wouldn't see a drop.
Of rain.
Like,
Yeah, it
so
looked like-
we've given you the best memories, not the negative memories.
And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, when they asked us about Spain, they were like, "Oh, you've just done a destination wedding recently, and how was it and stuff?" And we were like, "It was absolutely amazing. The
I loved
couple, the guests, everything was perfect." And as we all do as people, you always just go straight to like a negative comment sometimes,
Rained like.
and it rained. But it rained more than it's ever rained, I think, in like even in our
In the history of Spain.
it broke records. And as I say,
But you know what? Like, obviously, they did get upset, and rightly so. Like,
Yeah.
I think I would if it was my wedding day. But then it did not turn around, and they had a party, and all the guests and everyone enjoyed themselves. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Josh just chomping on chocolate. You getting hungry there, love?
Right down
my
the mic.
stomach is literally growling.
We
at
better
me.
wrap this up soon because you'll start getting hungry.
I know, starting to
She,
help people
do you know
out.
what? She said this. She was like, "I'm going to mention you get hungry," and I was like, "It's not that. On a wedding day, you
It
have to
is.
have snacks. Otherwise, an empty stack can't buy stuff." I messed that up completely.
An empty sack doesn't
can't
stand by itself.
I have a chocolate in my teeth, and I want to just be me. Do you know what I mean? I said this. I'm not going to hide away. I'm going to show the true me. So Galaxy. But yeah, Matthew's looking at me and she's like, I can't believe you've done that.
I'm looking at you the exact same way,
know.
by the way.
No, you've just said, oh, yeah, on a Wednesday. A Wednesday? Bloody hell.
Monday,
Yeah,
last
it's Monday.
Oh, on a Wednesday, you've got to have snacks. This isn't a wedding day. This is a podcast day.
while you get that galaxy out of your teeth, which I can visibly see from here. So, you know,
How's it gone?
talking about snacks on a Wednesday for us are very important.
That's it.
Well, for you two are very important. I've got to watch my macros. Shout out to all the gym people
heads.
there. Gym heads.
He's
yeah.
a ming.
Mink. But obviously we have our little snack duties at the end in it. But what's the segue is
No, let me just mention
Wait.
this before you go
Go on.
on. Because me and Ryan have done this for years now. Well, while we've been working together, we do this thing after every wedding where we go to the nearest
Mackies.
McDonald's. Me, McDonald's full of Mackies. And we go,
I'm here, lad.
we go to the nearest McDonald's and we play this game where we say, is the ice cream
Is the ice
machine
cream
on
on?
or not? Are we getting a McFlurry or not? And we turn up to the thing and go, hey, is the McFlurry machine on? They're like, yeah. And to be fair, we've been had off loads recently.
Yeah.
It's always been on. But the ones where it's always off, you're like, how are you off? Like,
It's like 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, what's going on? And they're like, yeah, it's just...
Prime McFlurry time.
Sorry to interrupt. As someone who's worked at Mackey's,
Go
they,
on, tell
they
us the
break
reason.
all the time. Like,
They-
they're
what?
awful. They
don't break.
They do.
No one can be bothered.
I
putting
worked
them
there
on.
when I was in sixth form. They break all the time.
Well, buy a second one then.
And if you run out of
Shake mix.
the mix, yeah, it is.
Let me tell you how I know that it was shake mix. Because
He worked at McDonald's. You hasn't worked at McDonald's.
Reveal worked at McDonald's for 3 months when I was about 17.
Fair.
Probably younger, actually.
Speaking of snacks and obviously wrapping the podcast up for today's episode, obviously, thanks again. I want to say thanks in a formally way because we've been trying to get this done for so long to sit in a studio. Thanks to Matty for obviously being the producer
His
today
time.
and his time. But yeah, thanks for obviously coming together and doing the podcast.
You're
it's
welcome,
out-
Dad.
It's massively out of our comfort zone and I'm glad we've done it. I really am. And I can't wait for, obviously we can go on to speak about what's to follow really, what do you want to happen for the next few
I think
episodes.
that the idea was always obviously platform for us to show who we are, platform for any potential budding people who are looking to either get married or have been married or just like general gossip and talk really and like fill their time up with relatable things, let's just say it that way. And also for us to know that down the line as this goes on, it won't always be in this type of like format, that it'll be, you know, possibly in different locations, involving any guests that we might have on, so other suppliers, other potential couples.
100% we want
anything
other
like that.
suppliers on.
Anyone that's willing to kind of come on really, because it's it's kind of like open forum chat, I think.
Yeah.
And the idea is that it's like totally unbiased and totally like for everyone to be included and inclusive, and that's where I thought we were going with it, which is like at some point we'll might even do the podcast from a venue, or you know, shadow someone for the day, or like even just take you with us and we talk to it through the day and then piece it together as the days
We've always
unfolded.
said as well,
like a live.
even though we're a team of videographers and you're a photographer, we still want other photographers and videographers to come on. I want to touch on that massively because this isn't a way for us to like big ourselves up. We want people who are planning a wedding really, and anyone who's interested in weddings to listen to this podcast. I said it before, just to listen and hear other people's voices and their experiences with weddings and, you know, tips and tricks essentially, innit?
Yeah, and
Do
like
not say tips and tricks. I think.
Tips and tricks.
another thing that obviously we want like if people are listening, for them to like give us their stories or like things that we can share with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They're-
maybe we
they're
should
all
start
good
like
talking points,
being a
aren't
bit
they?
more active on Instagram, start putting polls out, questions out, and then
Expect
maybe
polls and-
we can discuss them next week.
Cue the polls and questions.
Maybe we could ask our audience if
If we get any listeners,
if what was my question before?
I don't know.
If first date should be a +1.
That's a good one. That is
Maybe
a good
we
one.
should
to have
ask.
there.
one. I
Maybe
think
we
that's
should
poll
put
number
that
one.
out.
Poll
is
number
poll
We'll
number one.
put that out and we might get some stories from it.
Yeah, so anyone who has listened to the podcast, head over to the Instagram. That's where it's going to be all happening. And yeah, get involved with the polls and stuff. I think we've said it. You know, said it all. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. If you are seeing on any platforms, Ryan can say like and subscribe because I'm not saying that.
Like and subscribe to my video and hit that notification bell if you want to see more. Obviously watch a lot of YouTube every time.
He's been practicing that. And
Thank you. Thanks again, Matty.
Thanks everyone. Thanks, Matty.
peace.